The Shining Proof, Second Station. In the name of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate, and from Him do we seek help. One of the truths contained in the last verse of Surah Al-Fatiha, which indicates the comparison of the people of guidance and the straight path, and the people of misguidance and rebellion, and is the source of all the comparisons in the Risale-i Nur, is expressed also in wondrous and miraculous fashion by the verse of Surah Al-Nur. God is the light of the heavens and the earth. The parable of His light is as if there were a niche and within it a lamp, the lamp enclosed in glass, the glass as it were a brilliant star, lit from a blessed tree, an olive, neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil is well nigh luminous, though fire scarce touched it, light upon light. God guides whom He will to His light. God sets forth parables for man, and God knows all things. And a subsequent verse, or the unbeliever's state is like the depths of darkness in a vast deep ocean, overwhelmed with billow topped by billow, topped by dark clouds, to the end of the verse. It is proved in the first ray that the first verse above, the light verse, contains 10 allusions to the Risale-i Nur. It miraculously foretells that Qur'anic commentary. This was the main reason the name Nur, light, was given to the Risale-i Nur. In a comparison in a section of the 29th letter describing a journey of the imagination, the miracle pertaining to the word Nur in this extraordinary verse, resembling that of the Nun of Nabudu, is elucidated. It led the traveler in the supreme sign, Ayatul Kubra, to question the whole universe and every sort of being in order to seek, find, and learn about his Creator. He came to know Him through 33 ways and cogent proofs, with the certainty of knowledge and the vision of certainty. The untiring, insatiable traveler journeyed too with his mind, heart, and imagination through the centuries and the levels of the heavens and earth, and seeing and inspecting the whole world as a city, he mounted his reason sometimes on the wisdom of the Qur'an, sometimes on philosophy, and gazing at the most distant levels through the powerful telescope of imagination, he saw reality as it is and in parts informed us of it in the supreme sign. Now, of those many worlds and levels he entered on his journey of the imagination, which was a sort of analogy or comparison and was completely in conformity with reality, we shall explain by way of example only 3 levels, extremely concisely, in order to illustrate the comparison at the end of Surah Al-Fatiha. However, this will be only from the point of view of the power of reason. We refer you to the Risale-i Nur for the other observations and comparisons. The first example is like this. The traveler who had come into the world solely to find his Creator and become acquainted with Him said to his reason, "We have asked everything concerning our Creator and have received perfectly satisfying answers. In order to learn about the sun, one has to ask the sun itself. So, now we shall make a further journey in order to find and become acquainted with our Creator through the manifestations of His sacred attributes of knowledge, will, and power, and through His visible works, and through the manifestations of His names." So he entered the world. Then the people of misguidance, a second current, embarked on the ship of the earth. The traveler put on the spectacles of the science and philosophy that does not follow the wisdom of the Qur'an, and looking in accordance with the program of the geography that does not read the Qur'an, so that the earth was traveling 70 times faster than a cannonball, covering a 20,000-year distance in 1 year in an orbit in the midst of the infinite void. It had taken upon itself a myriad species of wretched, helpless living beings. He realized that if it confused its way even for a minute, or if a stray star collided with it, it would disintegrate, pouring all those wretched creatures into nothingness and non-existence. perceiving the awesome calamity of the currents of, not those who have received your anger, nor those who have gone astray, and the suffocating darkness of, or the unbeliever's state is like the depths of darkness in a vast deep ocean. He exclaimed, Alas, what have we done? Why did we board this terrible ship? Is there any way we can be saved from it? Then, smashing the spectacles of blind philosophy, he joined the current of those whom you have blessed. Suddenly, the wisdom of the Qur'an came to his assistance. Giving to his reason a telescope which shows reality, it told him to look through it. He looked and saw the name of sustainer of the heavens and earth rising like a sun in the constellation of. It is he who has made the earth subservient to you, so traverse you its tracts and eat of its sustenance. The sustainer had made the earth an orderly, safe ship and filled it with living beings together with their sustenance, causing it to journey around the sun in the seas of the universe for numerous benefits and instances of wisdom, bringing the produce of the seasons to those who wished for sustenance. 2 angels called Sever and Hud had been appointed captains of the ship, and they took it on its voyage through the magnificent dominical regions for the enjoyment of the glorious creatures, and guests. The traveler understood that this showed the reality of God is the light of the heavens and the earth, making known his creator through this name. With all his heart and spirit he exclaimed, All praise be to God, the sustainer of all the worlds, and joined the group of those whom you have blessed. The second sample of what the traveler saw on his journey through the worlds. The traveler alighted from the ship of the earth and entered the world of animals and men. He looked at it through the spectacles of the natural science that does not receive its spirit from religion, and saw that, although those innumerable animate creatures had endless needs and were assaulted by numberless vexatious enemies and pitiless events, their capital was only 1,000th or even 100,000th of what they needed. Their power too was perhaps 1,000,000th of what was necessary to combat those harmful things. Being connected to them through his intelligence and out of compassion for his fellow beings, he so pitied them in their ghastly plight, and feeling a hellish pain was so sorry and despairing that he regretted 1,000 times over his ever having come to that wretched world. Then suddenly Qur'anic wisdom came to his assistance, and handing him the telescope of those whom you have blessed, it told him to look through it. He looked and saw that through the manifestation of God is the light of the heavens and the earth, numerous divine names such as Most Merciful, All Compassionate, Provider, Bestower, Munificent, and Preserver, each rose like the sun in the constellations of such verses as, And there is no living thing but he has hold of its forelock. The beasts do not carry their own sustenance. God sustains them and you. And we have enabled the sons of Adam, and the pious shall be in bliss. They fill the world of man and beasts with mercy and bounties, transforming it into a temporary paradise. He understood that they make known perfectly the generous host of this fine, instructive guest house, which is well worth being gazed upon, and 1,000 times he repeated, All praise be to God, the sustainer of all the worlds. The third example of the hundreds of his observations during his journey. The traveler from the world who wanted to know his creator through the manifestations of his names and attributes turned to his mind and imagination and said, Come, like the spirits and angels, we shall leave our bodies behind and ascend to the skies. We shall question the inhabitants of the heavens concerning our Creator. His spirit mounted his imagination, and his mind mounted his thought, and together they rose to the heavens. They took astronomy as their guide and looked with the view of the philosophy which does not heed religion and the currents of those who have received your wrath and those who have gone astray. He saw thousands of heavenly bodies and fiery stars 1,000 times larger than the earth and traveling 100 times faster than a cannonball, speeding one within the other, unconscious, lifeless, and aimless. If by chance one of them had confused its way for a second, it would have collided with another unconscious globe in that boundless, empty, infinite world, causing utter confusion and chaos like doomsday. Whichever direction he looked, the traveler was filled with terror and bewilderment. He was sorry 1,000 times over he had ascended to the skies. His mind and imagination went utterly to pieces. They declared, "Our duty is to see and point out fine truths. We resign from observing and understanding such infernally ugly and painful things. We do not want any such thing." Then, suddenly, through the manifestation of God is the light of the heavens and the earth, numerous names like subjugator of the sun and moon and sustainer of all the worlds, each rose like suns in the constellations of verses such as, "And we have adorned the lower heavens with lamps," and "Do they then not look at the heavens above them, how we have raised them and adorned them," and "Then he withdrew to the sky and formed it into 7 heavens. They filled all the heavens with light and with angels, transforming it into a huge mosque or military encampment. The traveler entered the current of those whom you have blessed. He was saved from that of those who have gone astray, and, or the unbeliever's state is like the depths of darkness in a vast deep ocean. He saw a magnificent land, as beautiful and well-ordered as paradise. Observing that on all sides its inhabitants were making known the all-glorious Creator, the value of his mind and imagination was increased 1,000-fold, and their duties advanced likewise. Referring to the Risale-i Nur, the other observations of the traveler through the universe, which are comparable with these 3 examples out of hundreds, together with knowledge of the necessarily existent one through the manifestations of his names, here we suffice with these brief indications and cut a long story short. Now, like the traveler through the world, we shall try to know the Creator of the universe through the works and manifestations of only 3 of his sacred 7 attributes: knowledge, will, and power. For details, we refer you to the Risale-i Nur. The following piece in Arabic is the sum and substance of the Arabic al-Hizb al-Nuri, which I constantly recite reflectively. It expounds 3 of the 33 degrees of the phrase, "God is most great, Allahu Akbar." This is followed by a sort of translation of the Arabic piece, consisting of brief indications, which opens up the way to acquiring belief in divine knowledge, will, and power at the degree of the vision of certainty through pointing out their manifestations in the universe, a subject which greatly preoccupied the scholars of theology and of the tenets of belief. Pointing out the manifestations of knowledge, will, and power, the following indications thus open up the way to complete belief at the degree of knowledge of certainty in the necessarily existent one's existence and unity, and to the affirmation of that belief. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. Say, praise be to God, who begets no son and has no partner in his dominion, nor needs he any to protect him from humiliation. Yes, magnify him for his greatness and glory. God is greater than everything in respect of power and knowledge, for he is knowing of all things with all-encompassing knowledge necessary to his essence. Note, and God's is the highest similitude, like all-encompassing light is necessary to the sun. Nothing can be hidden from his knowledge because of the mystery of its presence, and witnessing an all-encompassing luminosity, existence necessitates universality and the light of knowledge encompasses all the world of existence. Yes, the balanced order and regular balances and general, purposeful wisdom and all-embracing particular favors and the orderly degrees and fruitful determining and specified appointed hours of death and the regular sustenance and the wise skills and the adorned solicitude and the utterly perfect order, harmony, arrangement, proficiency, and balance, and absolute distinction with absolute ease, all point to the all-encompassing knowledge of the one all-knowing of the unseen. Should he not know, he that created? And he is the one who understands the finest mysteries and is well acquainted with them. The comparison between man's fine art, which points to his consciousness, and the fine creation of man, which points to man's creator, is the comparison between the tiny glimmer of a firefly on a dark night and the splendor of the sun at full noon. Offering a concise translation of the above, we shall make brief indications to divine knowledge, this most important truth of belief, and refer detailed discussion of it to the Risale-i Nur. Note: the remaining part of this treatise was written while I was suffering from a terrible illness, a result of being poisoned, such as I had never previously experienced in my life. My faults should therefore be looked on tolerantly. Husrev may modify, change, and correct any parts he considers inappropriate. Yes, just as mercy shows itself as clearly as the sun through the wonders of sustenance and proves decisively a most merciful and compassionate one behind the veil of the unseen, so too, through the wisdom, purposes, and fruits of order and balance in things, knowledge, which is mentioned in hundreds of Qur'anic verses, and in one respect is the chief of the sacred 7 attributes, displays itself like the light of the sun, making known with certainty the existence of one knowledgeable of all things. Yes, the comparison between ordered, measured art, which points to man's consciousness and knowledge, and man's fine creation, which indicates the knowledge and wisdom of man's creator, resembles the comparison between the tiny glow of the firefly on a dark night and the encompassing light of the sun at noon. Now, before explaining the evidences of divine knowledge, we shall mention briefly the sacred conversation which took place during the Prophet's ascension. For Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, ascension indicates and testifies that, through its manifestations in the universe, the sacred attribute of knowledge shows the most pure and holy one most clearly. When on that night he received the divine address in God's presence, since he had been sent as an envoy on behalf of all living beings and every sort of creature, instead of giving the greeting Al-Salam of conscious beings, he said, "Salutations, blessings, benedictions, and supplications, and good words, all are God's," thus offering to his creator the creature's gifts, showing the manner they make known their sustainer through the manifestations of the attribute of knowledge. That is, with the 4 words, salutations, blessings, benedictions, and supplications, and good words, he was alluding to the salutations, congratulations, worship, and recognition of the one all-knowing of the unseen of the 4 main groups of living beings, which they offer through the manifestations of pre-eternal and post-eternal knowledge. For this reason, the recitation of the sacred conversation of the Ascension in its broad meaning has become an obligatory part of the Tashahhud for all Muslims. Referring detailed exposition of that sacred conversation to the Risale-i Nur, we shall explain one meaning of it in the form of 4 very brief indications. The first is salutations to God, al-tahiyyatu lillah. Briefly, its meaning is this. For example, a master craftsman invests a wonderful machine with his profound knowledge and miraculous intelligence, and everyone who sees it applauds and congratulates the craftsman, and praising and saluting him, offers him gifts both material and immaterial. The machine too by displaying the craftsman's wondrously subtle art and skill and knowledge, and working perfectly in exactly the way he wanted, applauds him through the tone of its being, in effect greeting him and offering him immaterial gifts. In exactly the same way, all the species of living beings in the universe, together with all their individual members, are in every respect miraculous, wonderful machines, which like conscious beings, men and jinn and angels, applaud and salute their maker verbally through the tongues of their beings, and lives applaud and salute their craftsman, the all-glorious maker, who makes himself known through the profound and subtle manifestations of his all-comprehending knowledge, which sees the relationship of everything with everything else, and knows all the things necessary for the life of each, and conveys them to it at the right time. Greeting him, the beings declare salutations to God. They worshipfully offer the price of their lives directly to their Creator, who knows all creatures together with all their states. On the night of the Ascension, in the name of all living creatures, Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, said, "Salutations to God," instead of the greeting of peace in the presence of the necessarily existent one, and offered the salutations, gifts, and greetings of all those species of living beings. Yes, just as with its order and balance, an ordinary regular machine undoubtedly shows a painstaking, skillful craftsman, so each of the numberless living machines which fill the universe displays 1,001 miracles of knowledge. Whatever the comparison between the light of the sun and the feeble glow of the firefly, that is the comparison of the former and the brilliance with which, through the manifestations of knowledge, the living beings testify to the necessary existence of their eternal maker and craftsman and his fitness to be worshipped. The second sacred word from the Ascension is blessings, al-Mubarakat. Since, according to Hadith, the ritual prayers are the believer's ascension and receive the manifestation of the supreme ascension, and since the traveler found in every world his Creator, the one knowing of the unseen, through his attribute of knowledge, accompanying the traveler, we shall enter the broad world of blessed things and blessings, which make those who behold them declare, "How great are God's blessings!" Like the traveler, we shall behold that world of blessed beings, and foremost the innocent, blessed infants of beings with spirits, and the seeds of animate creatures, which are the tiny containers of the programs of their lives, and through studying them shall attempt to know our Creator with the knowledge of certainty through the miraculous, subtle manifestations of His sacred attribute of knowledge. Yes, with our own eyes, we see that through the knowledge of an all-wise and knowledgeable one, all those innocent young and blessed minute treasuries and boxes, both altogether and singly, suddenly awaken and stir into motion and proceed towards the aim of their creation. They cause those who see them as they are in reality to exclaim, "May God bless these 1,000 times over! What endless wonders God has built!" For example, all seeds, eggs, sperm, and grains have a precise order which springs from knowledge, and the order is within a perfect balance which arises from skill, and the balance is within a constant reordering, and the reordering is within a constant measuring and balancing, and the measuring and balancing are within a distinguishing and nurturing, each possessing max intentionally distinguishing it from its fellows, and this distinguishing and nurturing are within an artful decorating and adorning, and this adorning is within the giving of wise, appropriate, perfect forms and members, and this giving of form is together with differences in the flesh and edible parts of those creatures and fruits, for the purpose of generously gratifying the tastes of those desiring sustenance, and this is within miraculous embroideries and adornments which reflect knowledge and are all different, and this is together with pleasing smells and delicious tastes which are all different. Thus, through the unfolding and development of all these forms, with perfect orderliness and distinction, and while being different, without fault or error in absolute profusion, and with absolute speed, and over an infinite area, and with this wondrous situation continuing throughout the seasons, all those blessed beings, singly and altogether, demonstrate visibly through the above 15 tongues the marvels of their craftsman's skills and his miraculous knowledge, making known as clearly as the sun the one all-knowing of the unseen, their necessarily existent maker. It was because of this truly brilliant and extensive testimony of theirs, and congratulations of their maker, that on the night of the Ascension, when speaking on behalf of all creatures, Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, used the word blessings instead of the greeting of peace. The third word is benedictions, al-salawat. The sacred word, which was spoken during the supreme ascension of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, hundreds of millions of believers offer to the divine court every day at least 10 times in the tashahhud during the obligatory prayers, which are the believers' ascension. They proclaim it to the universe. Since all the truths of the ascension have been proved in the 31st word in most powerful and decisive fashion, even to obdurate, atheist deniers, which it in part addresses, for the proofs and details we refer you to that word, and here, extremely concisely, we shall take a look at the strange world of the various sorts of conscious beings and beings with spirits, which illustrates the broad meaning of this third word of the ascension. We shall also try to understand by means of the manifestation of his pre-eternal knowledge, the perfect mercy and compassion of our Creator, and the vastness of his power and all-encompassing will within his existence and unity. Yes, we see in this world that even if not consciously and with their minds, by nature all beings with spirits feel and perceive that despite their boundless impotence and weakness, they have innumerable enemies and things detrimental to them, and despite their infinite want and need, they have endless needs and desires. Since their power and capital are insufficient to meet even a thousandth of this, they cry out and weep with all their strength, and by their nature implore and entreat. Each with its own particular voice and tone offers supplications, entreaties, prayers of a sort, and benedictions to one all-knowing and all-powerful. Then, while seeking refuge his court, we see that suddenly an all-wise and powerful one, who is absolutely knowing and perceives all the needs of those crying out, understands their plaints and plight, and hears their innate petitions and supplications, comes to their assistance, and does all that they wish. He transforms their weeping into smiles and their cries into thanks. This wise, knowing, compassionate assistance makes known in truly brilliant fashion through the manifestations of knowledge and mercy and assisting answerer of prayer, a munificent and compassionate one. During the Supreme Ascension, Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, and during the prayers, the Lesser Ascension, his community, all declare benedictions and supplications and good words, all are God's, which has the meaning of offering specifically to him all the benedictions and worship of the world of beings with spirits. The fourth sacred word is good words, all are God's, al-tahiyyat lillah. Since many of the truths of the Risale-i Nur have been imparted to me while reciting the tasbihat following the prayers, quite simply, I have been driving involuntarily to explain by means of brief indications the truths associated with both Surah al-Fatiha and the words of the tashahhud. The sacred word, good words, which was spoken during Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, ascension, refers to the good words and deeds and worship of those with knowledge of God and the believers, and of man, jinn, angels, and spirit beings who possess universal consciousness with which they beautify the universe. They look to the world of beauties and understand fully the infinite beauties of the eternal absolutely beauties one and the perpetual beauties of his names which adorn the universe, and they respond to them with passion and order and universal worship. This word refers to the endless good words they utter to their Creator through the fragrant odors of their shining belief, extensive knowledge of Him, and praise and laudation. Since good words in this meaning were spoken during the ascension, every day without wearying, the whole Ummah repeats that sacred word in the Tashahhud. Yes, the universe is the mirror of an infinite, sempiternal beauty and loveliness, and consists of manifestations of it. All the beauties and perfections of the universe come from that eternal beauty and become beautiful through their connection with it and increase in value. The universe would otherwise be a ruin, a house of sorrows, a place of utter confusion. Their connection with that beauty is understood through the knowledge and affirmation of man, angels, and spirit beings, who are the heralds and announcers of the sovereignty of the Godhead. It was even imparted to me that there is a strong possibility that in order to broadcast everywhere the beautiful, sweet praise and laudation of those heralds, and their extolling the one they worship, and to send them up to the sublime throne and present those good words at the divine court, the element of the air has been given a truly strange and wondrous state, whereby its particles, like soldiers under orders, are minuscule tongues and ears. Thus, just as through their belief and their worship, men and the angels make known the all-glorious, all-worshipped one, so through making each of those announcers a microcosm connected to the whole universe through the comprehensive capacities, wondrous faculties, and subtleties of knowledge He has given them, that all-glorious and wise one makes Himself known in brilliant fashion. For example, He shows Himself as clearly as the sun by creating numerous wonderful machines in a space the size of a walnut in man's tiny head, such as his faculties of memory, imagination, and thought, and by making his memory into a large library. Note: my severe illness does not permit me to continue. This is only a source and assistant to His Ref's duty of translation. We shall now allude to a very brief meaning of the Arabic piece mentioned above, which points out universal proofs of all-encompassing knowledge, comprises innumerable proofs, bringing them together and making them one extensive proof, and demonstrates all-encompassing knowledge through 15 evidences. We shall give a sort of translation of the piece.